Hello everyone, this is Swati Shastri taking a session on computer networks and security. So before we start with the today's lecture, let us have a look what did we do in the previous section. So in the previous lecture, we have actually covered about DNS. So that is domain name system, how the DNS works. So we have seen that in DNS, you can work in two ways. That is either an iterative way or a recursive way. But be it either of the approaches, you will be making use of four kinds of servers. That is local DNS server with whom the client is directly going to contact. Next is root DNS server who will be asked for the first time which particular IP address is being assigned to what domain, correct? So after root DNS server, you have one more second level kind of a DNS server that is called as TLD servers or called as top level domain servers, where these servers are going to address all your extensions like .com, .edu, .net, anything. So you have so many kinds of extensions. All those extensions are having their individual servers. The next level kind of servers that you have is authoritative servers, which are owned by the organization and provides all the interior IP address of every system or every host they have. So we have also seen how this was being resolved, that is how your domain name was being transferred to an IP address. Now to move further, today we are going to learn about DNS records and their messages. So DNS records are required for the storage of the respective domain name with the IP address, how they must be stored, and the stored data, how they must be exchanged. That is what we are concentrating on for today. So when you consider DNS caching and updating of their records, once any name server has learned the mapping, it is going to cache that particular mapping. So be it a local DNS or root DNS or TLD DNS, all these servers are going to cache your mapping, that is a respective domain name's IP address is being cached and kept in them. So usually these cache entries have certain timeout. That is, if I have fetched today, maybe by after 24 hours, that record that was being fetched and cached in one of the server will be considered as timeout, and the person, if he is requesting that particular IP address for that domain name tomorrow, that time that particular server is going to fetch a new IP address once again. So typically TLD servers are cached in your local domain servers. So whatever local DNS you have, those servers are usually going to cache all the IP addresses of TLD servers. So what is the use of doing this is they need not often visit root name servers. If a local DNS, usually how is our process? The client DNS is going to ask IP address for a particular domain name for local DNS server. Local DNS server has to first ask about which TLD must be served first or which TLD must be asked first. That is being asked for your root servers. This is a usual connection that we have, but we have limited number of root servers. So what we do is whenever local DNS fetches the IP address of TLD server, that is being cached onto the local DNS so that we can avoid often visiting of root name servers, so that there is no load onto the root name servers. So usually the caching of any DNS is being done in local DNS server. So these things are usually updated very often, and you have different mechanisms under which they are being updated, and it is designed by IETF. Okay, so if you are in need of like a deep information regarding caching and all, you have to visit RFC 2136. So this is the reference point where all your caching about DNS is being recorded. Now coming on to how these records are, how do they look, what do they have, what are the contents of the records, where are they stored, how are they stored. All these things are the next point of concern for us. So let us study something about DNS records. So DNS records, they are usually called as resource records, which are popularly called as RR. So they have a specific format. The format of RR or resource record is, first will be a name, second will be a value, third one will be a type, and fourth one will be a TTL. Okay, so we'll define what will be the value of name, what will be the value in the value field, what will be the value for type field, and what will be the value for TTL field. Now what is TTL? We'll not consider, or you do not have more thing about TTL, because TTL is nothing but time to live. How much time should it live? So usually TTL is in terms of hops. Usually TTL is in terms of hops. What it is doing is, if those many hops are completed, then this particular RR format value will be discarded. That's all. So it is telling you how much time this should be alive. The moment the time has got expired, or there is a time out, then this particular RR, that is the resource record, must be discarded and it should not be used anymore. Now the value of the name field and information in the value field, they both depend on what will be the value in the type field. Depending on the type field, you will be fixing your name and value pair. So let us study how many kinds of types will be there. There are usually 4 kinds of type values. First kind of type value is A, which is quite very simple. If you have any resource record which is having the type value to be A, if type is equal to A, that time in the name field you will always be writing the host name. Whatever is a host name, like www.google.com, this is the name of the host. Okay, so that particular, the name field will be having the value of the host name. Rather, value field will be having IP address. Okay, so if I say about google.com, which is a direct server that you would get, it will be something of this sort, like you will be having www.google.com, comma, the IP address of it, comma, instead of type you will be using A, comma, whatever the time to live you have. So that is how it is being formulated. So type A is the most basic one and direct one. So name will be the name of the host, value will be the IP address. Instead of type A, type value can also be NS. If the value of the type field is NS, then name field will always be giving the domain name. It will always be giving the domain name, that is the name that you want to fetch. Especially this is stored inside your TLD servers. And value will be the host name of authoritative server for that particular domain. Whatever authoritative server's address will be, not the IP address, the name of it will be there, that will be there in your value field. So TLD is always going to return you information regarding authoritative server, right? So TLD, when it is storing this particular resource record, it will put the type value to be NS and the name value to be the domain name that you are actually searching for, and the value field to be the name of the host where authoritative server is going to reside. So type A, what we did, type A was just having a normal pair of host name with and specific IP address. You have one host, the name of that host and that particular IP address. Secondly, if you have type to be NS, that time in the name field you will be having domain, in the value field you will be having the host name of the authoritative server. If your type value is not A or NS, instead if it is CNAME, it means that you are making use of canonical names. You can see the example over here. usually we call www.ibm.com, which is very direct, straightforward and understood by everyone. But actually the IBM's server that is being hit when we call www.ibm.com is servereast.backup2.ibm.com. This is the actual name of the server that is being hit when we type this one. Now, why do we do this? Because people or your customers can remember www.ibm.com. Rather, if I ask the customers, if I'm an IBM person and I'm asking my customer to visit my website, if I give him www.ibm.com, he will surely try because it is easy to remember. But rather, if I give him servereast.backup2.ibm.com, he cannot remember that, and neither he will be trying it because it is quite a lengthier one. Correct? So what you're doing, actual name of the server is servereast.backup2.ibm.com, but the alias name for that is www.ibm.com. This has been popularized. Now where should I maintain this? This is maintained in the records itself. So what do? Is they put the type value to be CNAME. Whenever it is CNAME, the name field will be given with the alias name. That is, this is the actual server's name. This is the alias name. That is www.ibm.com is the alias name. This will be the value in the name field. The value field will be having servereast.backup2.ibm.com. That is the actual server's value. That is the canonical value. Okay. So this is how your RR is being maintained for host name aliasing. Similarly, we have also seen that we have one more service that is being provided by DNS, right? That is called as mail servers, right? So whenever you have mail servers, that time, that is like the mail server is the server which is going to store your specific mail addresses. Okay, so if you have that mail server aliasing, that time what you can do is, instead of using type A, NS or CNAME, you can make use of MX, where the value field will be having mail server's associated address, whatever address you have for the mail server, and name will be the canonical name that you are trying to use. So depending on different kinds of types, you are making use of resource records. So you use CNAME or MX, it is optional, but if you have any website, that time type A record and type NS record are mandatory, because type A record is maintained inside the authoritative server, which is directly going to give you the IP address of that particular host, and NS records are being maintained by the TLD servers, which is going to redirect you to the authoritative server. Okay, so this is how records are being maintained. They are having only four fields. Now, these records are stored in one or the other servers, maybe local DNS server, root DNS server, TLD DNS server, or authoritative DNS server. Irrespective of this, these records must be moved from one place to another. So to move these records from one place to another, you always require a message. Correct? So you should be knowing what is the message format of the DNS records. So message format to send any of your DNS record looks in the way that you have in the diagram. Okay, so whether it is a query message or a reply message. What is the meaning of query message? If client DNS is going to ask your TLD what is the IP address of this particular domain name, that time also it is going to send a message, right? So that request message is called as query message. So when you have a query message, TLD server will respond you back with the message which is going to have the answer. So that is called as reply message. Both the formats, that is query message and reply message formats, are same, but they are having different contents. So let us go through what are the contents present in the DNS message format. So when you consider DNS message format, the first field that you have is identification field, which is a unique field which speaks about ID. So it is usually 16-bit long, and if I have sent a query message now, if its ID is 16, the respective response message for my query must have the same identification, that is 16. So it is something like as you write your question paper, answers, right? Like question number 1A, the answer name number also must be 1A itself. So that is a respective question and answer indication how you give. So similarly, on that basis you are using identification. Whatever identification number is being given for query message, same identification number must be given for the reply message also. Next field that it can have is n number of flags. So what all flags can it have? It can have a flag which is going to identify whether it is a query or a reply. Usually query is represented as 0 and reply is represented as 1. If you are in need of recursion, that time you can set a bit to 1. Next, if your recursion is available, that is in your response message, if your recursion is available, that time you can set that flag to 1. If your reply is an authoritative server, that flag also can be set to 1. So you can have 4 different flags, which can be either query or reply, whether you are interested in recursion or not. If you are interested in recursion, whether recursion is available or not, and finally reply whether it is authoritative or not. So these many flags can be there or can be a part of any of the DNS message. Next section that DNS message is having is how many number of questions are present, that is how many queries are there, whether your local DNS is asking you only one query or it is asking you more than one query. So number of questions are present. So here when you have number of questions, that number of questions, these number of question, like if you mention 2 number of questions over here, those many questions must be present in this particular section. Okay, similarly, if you have number of answers are always in the form of resource records. Answers are always in the form of resource records. So what you are maintaining is how many resource records are you trying to move from one place to another. So that thing is given by your answers over here. Okay, next is how many number of authoritative RRs, that is resource records, are there. So if you have any authoritative resource records, that records are being mentioned over here and you can have them, and you should also mention how many numbers are there, how many records are there. If any additional records are being sent, for example, if you consider your mail servers aliasing or your host name aliasing, so if those things are being sent, that time it will be an additional resource record. How many number of additional resource records are there and what are they are being mentioned over here. Okay, so this is how an DNS message is being formulated. So any resource record, that is DNS resource record, if you want to forward it or send it from one server to the another server, they are done via messages or using a message. Now let us take an example of how to set up a website. Okay, a small thing. You are not studying how the website is being designed. Rather, if you want to set up a website and it has to reach till you, what should be done? Consider that you want to set up a network of Network Utopia. Okay, so you are interested in registering networkutopia.com. So what you have to do, you have to register the name networkutopia.com at DNS registrar. Okay, where you register, usually register at registrars. There are so many companies doing these registers. Like the popular companies that you have now is like GoDaddy, HostGator. There are so many things, right? So one such is also Network Solutions. You can give it to them also. So what they will do, they will register you in internic.net, which is the highest. He is a registrar where he provides all kinds of services. Now this one will provide names and IP address of your authoritative server. Because you are a single user, you will not be having your own authoritative server, right? So what he will do, he will give you his authoritative server's name, and registrar is going to insert 2 RRs into TLD servers. What kind of RRs? One is you require networkutopia.com and its DNS, which is a NS record saying that this particular name, if I want, this has to go to this particular authoritative server. When it comes to this authoritative server will give you this particular IP address. That's why it is called as A. Okay, so in both the things your TTL is missing, so you need not worry about TTL. So this is how they create and they send. It is something like if you go to GoDaddy and you request him saying that I want xyz.com, that time what it will do, it will create an xyz.com. When it creates .com, that com server must be intimated, right? So it will use NS record. Com server is always going to use NS record. So com server will be sent with your name and the authoritative DNS's name, both the records, to the TLD server. So that now TLD server must be having both your authoritative server's IP address as well as your IP address. Only one IP address is not valid for it. So they are going to send two. Now if you want to have emails that you want, if for example if you watch out our college website, that is klsvdit.edu.in, if you want to have an email address @klsvdit.edu.in, that time also you have to mention the MX records. So you're just changing the resource records. That is how you get an IP address for any of your website. Okay, so what we have learned today, we have learned about how the messages and records are being maintained. When you consider records, there are 4 fields in the records like name, value, type and TTL. TTL is time to live. Type, you can be of a record, it can be an NS record, it can be a CNAME record, or it can be a MX record. So depending on the type, name and the value field is being filled out. Correct? So to send these records from one place to another, what we are doing, we are making use of something called as messages. Okay, so in the next class we'll be learning about P2P architecture. Okay, we'll stop here for today. Thank you.